She sat alone at a frozen bus stop, divorce papers shaking in her bare hands, thrown out by her husband for one unforgivable reason. She couldn't give him a child. No coat, no home, no future. Then headlights cut through the snow. A Hell's Angel stopped, looked at her once, and said, "Come with me." This story will surprise you. Before I continue, let me know in the comments. Have you subscribed to the channel or not? And also tell me which city and country you are watching from, so that I can thank you personally. The snow fell harder than usual that night. The kind of snow that muffles sound, as if the city itself is holding its breath. The streets were nearly empty, white haze floating beneath the streetlights, every breath burning the lungs with cold. Under the glass shelter of a bus stop, a woman sat alone. Her name was Emily, 28 years old. Blonde hair tangled and loose around her shoulders. A thin olive-colored dress clung to her body. Something meant for a warm room, never for a winter storm like this. She wrapped her arms tightly around herself, as if hugging her own body, silently begging it to endure just a little longer. Beside her on the bench sat an old, worn bag. Everything she owned in the world was inside it. A few clothes, some faded photographs, and the divorce papers. The same papers that had been shoved into her hands just 3 hours earlier. Emily's eyes kept drifting to the half-open zipper, where the white edge of the documents was clearly visible. Each glance made the numbness inside her deepen. 3 years of marriage, 3 years of hope, 3 years of dreams, gone, all erased by a single sentence. "You can't give me a child." Her husband had said it calmly, like labeling a broken object. No anger, no sadness, just a decision. Emily had tried to reason with him. There were treatments, there was adoption. Family wasn't built on blood alone, but none of it mattered. In his eyes, Emily was defective, useless, and no longer welcome in his home. "Pack your things and leave." Those words weren't just an order, they were exile. Now Emily had nowhere to go. Her parents had passed away years ago. Most of her friends had drifted away during the marriage. He preferred her focused on being a wife, not maintaining a life outside of him. Her cousin was out of town. The women's shelter was full. Her bank account wouldn't even cover a week in a cheap motel. So she sat at the bus stop, not waiting for a bus, not waiting for anyone, just waiting for time to pass. The cold crept up from her feet. Her fingers were numb, but the worst freezing was happening inside her chest. Her identity felt stripped away. Wife, gone. Mother, never allowed to be. Home, lost. So who was she now? Snowflakes settled on her lashes, melting as she blinked. Cars passed, headlights flashing briefly, then disappearing into darkness. No one stopped. No one asked. Maybe they assumed she was waiting for a ride, or maybe it was easier not to see her at all. A frightening thought crossed her mind. If I stay here all night, will there even be a morning for me? That was when she sensed movement nearby. Footsteps. She didn't flinch, just slowly lifted her head. A vehicle had pulled over at the curb. The engine hummed. Headlights cut through the falling snow. The door opened. Then she saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered, a black leather jacket covered in patches stretched across his frame, a thick beard, a hardened face, and eyes that carried something unexpected. Calm. His name was William. Beside him stood a small child, bundled in winter clothes, holding his hand. Emily's heart pounded. Men like him made people nervous. She didn't stand, didn't run. She stayed seated. William stopped a few steps away. His eyes took in everything. The thin dress, her trembling hands, the worn bag at her side. Then he spoke quietly. "You're sitting out here alone. In this weather?" His voice wasn't harsh. It held concern. Emily tried to respond, but her lips barely moved. "I'm fine." William studied her for a moment, then glanced down at the child beside him. And then he said the words that would divide Emily's life into before and after. "Come with me." Emily's ears kept replaying the words. "Come with me." So simple, yet so heavy. Her heart began to race. Her mind immediately screamed danger. He was a stranger, leather jacket, hard features, a presence that usually made people step back. And now he was asking her to go with him, at this hour, in this cold, on an empty street. Emily instinctively wrapped her arms tighter around herself, as if shielding her body from something unseen. "I can't," she said quietly, her voice trembling. "I don't know you." William immediately took a step back. Emily noticed that. He didn't move closer. He bent slightly, lowering himself so he wouldn't tower over her. "I understand," William said calmly. "And I'm not asking for anything. I'm just saying, you can't stay here. This weather isn't safe." The child beside him watched Emily silently. About 7 years old. Blue eyes beneath a knitted hat, small fingers gripping William's hand tightly. The boy tugged gently at William's sleeve. "Dad, she's really cold," he whispered. "Her hands are shaking." Emily's chest tightened. When was the last time anyone had worried about her like that? William looked at his son and nodded. "I know." Then he turned back to Emily. "My name is William. This is my son. We live just a few blocks away. If you want, just for tonight, you can warm up, eat something. In the morning, I'll take you wherever you want." Emily shook her head. "I can't accept help," she said. "People always want something in return." For a brief moment, pain flickered across William's face, as if he understood that sentence all too well. "I used to think that too," he said quietly. "But my son taught me something. Sometimes help is just help." Emily looked at the child again. He wasn't staring, wasn't judging. He was simply worried. The cold had climbed from Emily's feet up into her legs. Her head felt heavy. Her vision blurred slightly. A terrifying thought crossed her mind. If I refuse, and this night becomes my last? That thought shook her. "Just one night?" she asked softly. William nodded immediately. "Just one night, I promise." Silence settled between them. Snow continued to fall. Then Emily moved. She reached for the handle of her bag, slowly pushed herself up. Her legs buckled. The cold had drained her strength. William moved instantly, but didn't touch her. He held his arms out, ready to catch her if she fell. "Easy," he said. "There's no rush." Emily steadied herself, realizing she was shaking, not just from the cold, but from fear. Without asking, William removed his jacket. "Please take this," he said. Emily shook her head. "No, I'm fine," William interrupted gently. "My car is warm, you're not." After a moment of hesitation, she accepted it. As the warm leather settled over her shoulders, a quiet sob escaped her chest. Someone had covered her, protected her. William took his son's hand. "Let's go." They walked through the snow together. The car wasn't far. Emily's steps were slow. With each one, doubt whispered. "Am I making a mistake?" Then she looked at the child and felt a fragile sense of safety. Inside the car, the heater's warm air felt like life returning to her body. Her fingers slowly thawed. She stared ahead, silent. William started the engine but didn't drive right away. "If you change your mind at any point," he said gently, "just say the word." Emily finally looked at him. Then she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "I'm ready." The car pulled away from the curb. The bus stop faded into the distance, and Emily didn't know it yet. But she wasn't just leaving a place behind. She was leaving the darkest chapter of her life. The car moved quietly through snow-covered streets. The warm air from the heater slowly brought feeling back into Emily's numb hands, but her heart was still trapped in an unfamiliar rhythm. She stared out the window. White roads, closed shops, houses glowing softly from inside, places where families were probably sitting together, warm and safe. Something she once had. William drove in silence. He didn't turn on the radio. Maybe he understood that this moment needed quiet more than words. In the back seat, his son had started to doze off, his head tilted to one side, small hands still resting on the seatbelt. Emily looked at him, and a strange ache rose in her chest. This child? A stranger? Yet something inside her cracked open. A few minutes later, the car turned into a quiet neighborhood. Streetlights cast a soft glow, snow clinging to doorsteps and roofs. William stopped in front of a modest, well-kept house. "We're here," he said gently. Emily's heart pounded. This is the moment, she thought. Either everything goes wrong, or everything changes. William stepped out first and softly woke his son. "Hey, champ, we're home," he said. The boy rubbed his eyes and climbed out of the car. Emily followed. Cold air hit her again for a brief second, but the warm light spilling from inside the house pulled her forward. When the door opened, warmth wrapped around her. It wasn't a luxurious home, but it was alive. Children's drawings covered the walls. Magnets and notes cluttered the refrigerator. Shoes were neatly lined up by the door. Life lived here. "Please, sit down," William said. "I'll get you something warm." Emily lowered herself onto the couch. As she tried to remove the jacket, her hands began to shake. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes. "You're safe. At least for now." William returned with a blanket. "Here," he said quietly, and wrapped it around her without asking. Emily clutched it tightly. Her lips trembled. "Thank you," she whispered. William turned to his son. "Go upstairs and change," he said. "And don't forget to brush your teeth." The boy nodded and headed up the stairs. Silence filled the room. A moment later, William came back from the kitchen holding a mug, steam rising. "It's soup," he said. "Not too hot." Emily took the cup. As the first sip went down her throat, something inside her melted. Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm strong," she said suddenly. "I really am. But today, I don't know how I made it this far." William sat in the chair across from her. "Even strong people need support sometimes," he said. "That doesn't make them weak." The words landed deep. Emily fell silent. Then, slowly, like a dam breaking, she began to talk. She told him about the marriage, the doctor visits, the hope, and the day she was told she was a failure. "He said I was broken," Emily whispered, "that I was useless." William lowered his gaze for a moment. Then he looked up, his voice steady. "Emily, anyone who measures a woman's worth by her ability to bear children is empty inside." The words felt like balm. For the first time that night, Emily truly looked at William, and in his eyes there was no pity, there was respect. Footsteps sounded upstairs. The boy came down wearing pajamas. He saw Emily wrapped in the blanket and smiled softly. "Are you okay now?" he asked. Emily nodded. "Yes, because of you." The boy smiled and sat beside William. That small moment stirred something deep inside Emily. It was a scene she had once only dreamed of. And for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, Life hadn't turned its back on her yet. Emily woke to soft light filling the room. Pale sunlight slipped through the edge of the curtains while outside, snow still rested quietly on the ground. For a few moments, she stayed still. Her heart raced. Her mind rushed to catch up. Where am I? Then she felt the warmth of the blanket, a clean bed, a strange sense of calm. This wasn't a dream. She slowly sat up. The room was simple but tidy. A small dresser against the wall, a lamp on the table, a chair by the window. Her old bag by the door brought everything back. The divorce, the bus stop, the cold, and the words, "Come with me." Emily took a deep breath. A quiet fear crept in. Was she becoming a burden? Was she overstaying, disrupting someone else's life? A gentle knock came at the door. "Emily," William's voice. "If you're awake, breakfast is ready." "Yes, I'm coming," she replied quickly. She straightened the blanket and stepped out. The smell of fresh coffee greeted her in the kitchen. Eggs sizzled on the stove, toast sat neatly on the table. It felt unreal, like a scene from someone else's life. William stood by the counter in casual clothes. When he saw her, he offered a small smile. "I hope you slept well," he said. She nodded. "I haven't slept peacefully in a long time," she admitted, then stopped herself. "I mean, if you don't mind—" "No apologies," William interrupted gently. "You're a guest." Footsteps followed. The boy came down the stairs, hair messy, eyes still sleepy. When he saw Emily, his face lit up. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "Good morning," Emily replied, surprised by the warmth in her own voice. They ate mostly in quiet. But it wasn't awkward. The boy talked about school, a project due today, how he hoped he'd done it right. Emily listened closely, nodded, encouraged him. It all felt natural, as if she'd done this before. After breakfast, William helped his son with his jacket and scarf. Emily watched silently. Something hollow stirred in her chest. But this time it wasn't pain. It was longing. The front door closed. The house grew quiet again. Emily spoke quickly. "I won't stay long. Just until I collect myself, then I'll—" William looked at her. This time his voice was calm but firm. "Emily, I don't want to pressure you, but the truth is, you're not in a position to go anywhere right now." Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to be a burden," she said softly. "I've already lost everything." William exhaled slowly. "I know what a burden feels like," he said. "And I also know you are not one." He paused. "My son's mother passed away 2 years ago. After that, this house existed. But it wasn't alive." Emily looked at him in surprise. "I'm not telling you this for sympathy," William continued. "Just to say, we're not broken. We're wounded, but still living." The words settled deep inside her. "You can stay a few days," he said gently. "Rest. Think. Then decide what comes next." Emily didn't speak. Tears streamed down her face. They weren't tears of weakness. They were the realization that maybe no one had come to fix her. No one had come to change her. Someone had simply come to accept her. Emily didn't check the clock that day. Time moved differently in that house. No rushing, no pressure. Just a gentle flow where breathing felt easier. She stood by the kitchen window, a warm cup of tea in her hands, watching snow fall outside. Each flake landed silently, as if noise wasn't allowed. The silence didn't frighten her. That was new. Without realizing it, she began to move around the kitchen. She cleared the table, washed the cups, straightened the pots on the stove. It was instinctive, as if her body remembered how to care for a home, even if her heart had forgotten for a while. William noticed, but said nothing. He simply nodded, quietly accepting the help. By midday, William sat at the dining table with his laptop. Calls, emails, focused silence. Emily noticed how his eyes occasionally lifted toward her, as if checking whether she was really okay. "If you want to rest," William began. "I'm okay," Emily said gently. "Really, doing something helps." It was true. Sitting still made the thoughts too loud. She couldn't afford to listen to them right now. In the afternoon, the sound of the school bus stopping echoed outside. Emily looked up. The boy burst through the door, cheeks red, eyes bright. "I'm back," he announced. Emily smiled. "How was your day?" He launched into stories, his project, his teacher, his friends, the star he earned. He talked and talked. Emily listened and listened. At some point, she found herself kneeling in front of him, laughing at his excitement, resting a hand gently on his head. It all felt natural, as if her heart had found its way without asking permission. That evening, William attempted to make dinner. The attempt didn't last long. "If you don't mind," Emily said softly, "may I help?" William studied her for a moment, then smiled. "I'd appreciate that." They stood side by side in the kitchen, vegetables being chopped, the stove humming. An ordinary scene, yet extraordinary to Emily. During dinner, the boy kept glancing at her, as if making sure she was really there. "Will you be here tomorrow too?" he asked suddenly. Emily paused. The question was simple, but carried so much. She looked at William, then back at the boy. "If you want me to be," she said gently. The boy's face lit up. "I want you to," he said immediately. William said nothing. He simply watched. After dinner, Emily cleared the dishes. William didn't stop her. Later, the boy brought his homework. "Can you help me?" he asked. Emily picked up the pencil. Read the page. Words, problems, simple questions. Nothing felt unfamiliar. They sat together for a long time, solving problems, laughing, falling into comfortable silence. When the boy went to bed, he paused at the door. "Good night, Emily," he said. The name felt new, yet strangely familiar. Later, Emily and William sat quietly in the living room. "You did a lot today," William said. "You didn't have to." Emily lowered her gaze. "I know," she replied. "But it felt good, like I mattered again." William nodded slowly. "You always mattered," he said. "Someone just failed to show you that." The words sank deep into her. That night, as Emily lay in bed, the fear inside her was quieter. The certainty wasn't complete. But hope. Hope had softly knocked on the door. The night was deep, but sleep refused to come to Emily. The room was dark, faint lines of light from the street lamp outside stretching across the floor. She lay on her back, staring at the ceiling. The day replayed in her mind. The child's laughter, the warmth of the kitchen, and William's look. The one filled with thought more than words. Emily turned onto her side. "This feels too good," she thought. "Too safe." Fear slipped quietly into her chest. She knew happiness often came with an expiration date, especially for someone like her. Every time life gave her something, it eventually took something away. In another room, William was awake, too. He sat at his desk, holding an old photograph. A woman smiled back at him from the picture. Gentle eyes, tired but warm, a baby cradled in her arms. Pain flickered across his face. "I promised," he whispered, "that I wouldn't let anyone get this close again." He placed the photo back into the drawer and closed his eyes. He wasn't afraid of Emily. He was afraid of himself. Days passed. The snow stopped falling, but the cold remained. Emily slipped into a routine, waking early, making breakfast, helping the boy get ready for school. She did everything carefully, as if one wrong move might earn her a quiet sentence. "It's time for you to go." That afternoon, the boy returned from school unusually quiet. "What happened?" Emily asked gently. He shrugged. "My teacher asked who you are." Emily's hands froze. "And what did you say?" she asked softly. "I said," he hesitated, "that you're my family." That word, family, hit her like an arrow. She smiled, but tears filled her eyes. That evening, William received a call from the school. Emily heard it from the kitchen. The words unclear, but the tone serious. When the call ended, William stood still for a long moment. "Is everything okay?" Emily asked. William exhaled slowly. "They asked what your relationship to my son is," he said. "I told them, you're our friend." The word friend lingered in the air. Emily nodded quickly. "That's fine," she said. "That's what I am." But something cracked quietly inside her. That night, Emily opened her bag. The divorce papers were still there. Names, dates, a decision made without her. "I can't stay here forever," she told herself. The next morning she spoke before fear could stop her. "I want to look for a job," Emily said over breakfast. "And maybe a place of my own." William looked up sharply. "Did I say something wrong?" he asked immediately. "No," Emily said quickly. "You've done more for me than anyone ever has. She glanced at the boy. "I don't want you, or him, to lose me suddenly one day." William fell silent. After a moment, he spoke quietly. "I'm afraid of the same thing. I lost everything once. I don't know if I'm ready to survive that pain again." For the first time, they had placed their fears in the same room. The silence that followed wasn't bitter. It was honest. Then the boy spoke, innocent and clear. "If everyone is scared," he said, "then when does anyone get to be happy?" Emily and William both froze. William looked at his son, and for the first time, resolve appeared on his face. Something was about to change. Silence filled the room after the child's question. "If everyone is scared, then when does anyone get to be happy?" Those words didn't sound like they came from a child. They sounded like the voice of someone who had already lost too much, or someone speaking after learning what loss feels like. Emily lowered her gaze. A strange weight pressed against her chest, as if she were standing at the edge of something that would change everything the moment she stepped forward. William looked at his son carefully. Then he said gently, "Go upstairs and do your homework, okay? I'll be there in a bit." The boy nodded and headed for the stairs, but before disappearing, he glanced back, as if checking whether adults ever truly follow through on their decisions. When the door closed, William exhaled slowly. "I promised myself," he said quietly, "that I would never let anyone get this close again." Emily wanted to speak, but stopped. William continued. "When his mother died, I lost everything. I learned that keeping your heart closed feels safer, but now—" He paused. "Now I'm starting to think I learned the wrong lesson." Emily finally spoke. "I don't want to force myself into your life," she said softly. "And I don't want to be part of a dream. That's only going to break again." William looked at her. "And what if it doesn't break?" he asked. "What if we all slowly learn how to support each other?" The question startled her. Life had never spoken to her in what-ifs. It had only spoken in facts, harsh, final, unforgiving. "I'm scared," Emily admitted. "I don't ever want to feel useless, unwanted, or replaceable again." William closed his eyes for a moment. "And I'm scared of losing someone again," he said. "But maybe living despite fear is what courage actually is." Just then, the doorbell rang. Emily flinched. William glanced at the clock. At this hour? He opened the door. A man stood there, well-dressed, sharp expression, that familiar, unmistakable arrogance in his eyes. Emily's hands went cold. It was him, her husband, the man who had thrown her onto the street overnight. "Emily," he said, "we need to talk." William stepped forward. "This isn't a good time," he said firmly, but Emily raised her hand, stopping him. "No," she said quietly. "I want to hear him." Her husband stepped inside. The air in the house changed instantly. "I made a rash decision," he said. "The doctor says there might still be chances. And I thought, maybe we should try again." Emily looked at him carefully. Once, this man had been her entire world. Now, he was just a memory. "And if there are no chances?" Emily asked calmly. "Then what?" He fell silent. That silence was the answer. Emily took a steady breath. "You left me because I couldn't give you a child," she said. "And now you're back because maybe I can. That's not love. That's a transaction." He turned, trying to speak, but Emily gestured toward the door. "This house is no longer my fear," she said, "and I will never again be the woman who has to prove her worth." The door closed behind him. Silence returned. Emily's hands were shaking, but her eyes were dry. William spoke softly. That took courage. Emily looked at him and smiled for the first time, a steady, grounded smile. "I chose myself," she said, maybe for the first time ever. From upstairs, the child's voice called out, "Is everything okay?" Emily answered, "Yes, everything is okay now." William looked out the window. The sun was setting, painting the sky in gold and red. Sometimes, the fading light is the promise of a new morning. After the door closed, a strange stillness settled over the house. It wasn't frightening. It was the kind of quiet that comes after a storm, when everything feels clearer. Emily sat down on the couch. Her heart was still racing, but this time there was strength in the rhythm. This was the same heart that had just chosen itself. William took a seat across from her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. "I'm proud of you," William finally said. "What you did, not many people can." Emily nodded. "I didn't do it for you," she said calmly. "I did it for myself." The words surprised her. There was no guilt in saying them. Footsteps came from upstairs. The boy came down, questions in his eyes. "Who was that man?" he asked plainly. Emily paused, then knelt in front of him. "He was someone who used to tell me who I wasn't," she said gently. "And today I told him he was wrong." The boy thought about it, then nodded. "Good," he said simply. "I don't think anyone gets to tell you who you aren't." They weren't the words of a philosopher, but they carried truth. Later that night, Emily opened her bag, the same bag that held her entire former life. She took out the divorce papers, looked at them, and placed them carefully back into the folder. For the first time, they didn't break her. William stood quietly in the doorway. "I don't want to pressure you," he said seriously, "but I also don't want you to think of yourself as temporary here." Emily looked at him. "What do you want?" she asked. William hesitated, then chose honesty. "I want us to stop running from each other. No promises, no rushing, just truth." Emily took a deep breath. "I don't know where I'm going," she said, "but I know I'm not going back." William smiled, a smile without control, only peace. Days passed. Emily started a part-time job at a community center, working with children. No one there asked why she didn't have children of her own. They only saw how she treated the ones in front of her. And she was good at it. At home, things slowly changed. New pictures appeared on the walls. The boy's laughter lingered longer. One afternoon, He burst through the door. "I filled out the form," he announced. "What form?" Emily asked, confused. "For Mother's Day," he said proudly. "We have to write about our mom." Emily's heart skipped. "And what did you write?" she asked softly. The boy pulled out the paper. Neat, careful handwriting. "My mom is the one who listens to me, who laughs with me, and who makes me feel safe." Tears filled Emily's eyes. "That's you," the boy said simply. "If you want it to be." Emily didn't speak. She just pulled him into a tight embrace. That evening, William said quietly, "I don't know what the future looks like, but I know this house is alive again, and it's because of you." Emily rested her head against his shoulder. "And you taught me this," she whispered. "A woman's worth isn't measured by what she can give birth to, but by how much love she's capable of giving." Some things don't break to end. Some things break to change direction. Emily was never broken. She was just in the wrong place. And now, she was finally where she belonged. This story isn't just Emily's. It belongs to every woman who is made to feel small because of her body, her fate, or her circumstances. If you believe that love is bigger than conditions, and human worth is defined by humanity, then share this story. If it reaches even one person, it has done its job,